Renewable energy seems to be the new buzzword, and solar power is the first form that comes to mind when you hear of it. But is the world there yet? Solar 3.0 could change the world as we know it, and in this video, we'll talk about everything you need to know. So, first of all, what is solar power exactly? Let's define what we mean by when we say solar power, before we talk about the most recent changes in the field. Solar power is the process of turning solar energy from the sun into heat or electricity for us to use. This is through the process of conversion. In the past, solar technology used two different ways to turn sunlight into electricity that could be used. The first way to get electricity from the sun is to use photovoltaic panels or mirrors that focus on the sun's rays. Then, solar energy can be used in the same way as other types of power. However, the energy that is used is renewable, has an infinite supply, and could be less expensive than other types of power. It can be used to cook food, heat water, and do anything else that can be done with electricity. Solar cells collect energy from the sun and store it so it can be used when it's needed. Most people agree that the only way for the region to meet its carbon reduction goals by 2030 is to increase its current commitment to 27%. An increase of 8% is not out of the question. But what are the concerns with solar energy? There are still some worries about so-called ambition gap and the delivery gap, which are shortfalls in national contributions. The ambition gap refers to member states whose national renewable energy programs do not contribute enough to the EU 2030 goal. More and more, it is clear that Europe needs a new start Green Deal, one that avoids the mistakes of wrong allocation and boom and bust developments of the past and uses the potential of private investment to reach ambitious renewable energy goals. All of this while pushing for the evolution of power generator systems and a reliable design of markets and regulations in which they operate. So how does solar energy compare to other types of clean energy? In terms of human time, the sun is the source of energy that can be used over and over again and is always available. This is because the energy from the sun can be turned into either heat or electricity. Solar power is currently the most environmentally friendly and abundant renewable energy source. Even though there are a lot of different types of renewable energy sources like wind energy, hydroelectric, ocean, geothermal, biomass, hydrogen, and many more. Solar energy is still the most widely used and adopted renewable energy source. In 2015, only 5.7% of the United States electricity came from renewable sources like wind and sun. By the year 2021, 13% of all electricity made in the country will come from wind and solar power. Between 2015 and 2020, the amount of electricity that came from solar and wind sources around the world went up by an average of 15% per year. If this rate of growth keeps up, 45% of electricity would come from renewable resources in 2030, and this number could reach 100% by 2033. So what does the 3.0 in solar mean? Not only has the amount of electricity made from solar and wind power grown a lot, but solar technology has continued to make a lot of progress. Most solar systems use one of two main types of solar cells. Solar cells make it possible for people to use energy from the sun, and they do this by collecting photons from it. It causes an electrochemical reaction, which leads to electricity being made. Solar cells made of crystalline silicon are by far the most common type of solar cell used today. About 95% of all modules sold and used today are made with this type of solar cell, which is based on silicon. Silicon has been thought of as the gold standard for a long time because it is the second most common material on Earth after oxygen. These silicon-based cells are made up from silicon atoms that are linked together to make a crystal lattice. With this setup, the module is able to turn light into energy more efficiently. The other main type of solar cell is a thin film solar cell. Perovskites are a type of material that is used in these cells. Their crystal structure is the same of that as the material calcium titanium oxide. Solar 3.0 is the next generation of solar power, and perovskites will make it happen. Perovskites are made within the layers of photovoltaic materials that are placed on glass, metal, or plastic substrate. The perovskites give these cells their special qualities. These film solar cells are different from their traditional counterparts because they can bend and change shape. Scientists have also made materials that have the same properties of perovskites or properties of that similar to them. As semiconductors, these solar cells can be made of either lead iodide or organic salts. If it is possible that these features can be made from materials other than silicon, it can be much better than them. The main problem with solar cells is that they usually only work at less than 30% efficiency. Solar cells made from silicon semiconductors only work between 20 and 25% of the time. Using perovskites, we can make this process of making electricity more efficient and even lead to more power being made. So how could solar paint be the way for renewable energy to go in the future? Solar cells keep making big steps forward in their development. In the year 2014, the first spray-on solar cells were made at the University of Sheffield in the United Kingdom. More than $150 billion was spent on research and development by solar companies in the US in 2016. Solar paint is a new technology that could be one of the best things to happen in the field of renewable energy. Solar paint is currently being researched and developed for possible future uses. This includes hydrogen-based solar paint, quantum dot solar cells, photovoltaic paint, or perovskite solar paint. These different kinds of solar paint do all their jobs in different ways, and in order for solar paint hydrogen to make energy, it must first pull moisture from the air and then use the sun's rays to split water molecules into their hydrogen and oxygen parts. Quantum dots do the same thing that tiny semiconductors do, which is to capture light and turn it into an electric current. There is a chance that these quantum dots will be 11% more efficient than traditional solar panels. Perovskite solar paint, which is also called spray-on solar cells, comes from the mineral calcium titanium oxide, or as we've already said, can be made with the help of organic salts. So, how can these be used? This kind of solar paint could be useful for a wide range of businesses that want to install solar energy systems or make their current ones work better. Sustainability in data centers is still a very important topic in the data center business. Not only will new technologies in the field of renewable energy help the data center industry, but will also help every other industry as well. Solar cells can be painted on the roofs and walls of buildings to give businesses and other groups more ways to get energy. And if it is used well, this discovery could change the way we think about renewable energy in a big way. Solar energy in phases. Europe is currently in the first stage, 1.0, which is energy-only contracts. This makes it hard to match load to solar generation capacity, limits solar penetration to 15 or 20% of total generation capacity, and has a constant debate about dispatchability. In the next phase, 2.0, advanced plant control systems are used to manage a solar power plant's output in a strategic way to create spinning reserves and other grid services. As markets move towards energy and capacity contracts, photovoltaic solar can provide grid reliability services and the kind of flexibility that grid operators value, which is about 40% penetration. In phase 3.0, solar energy is fully dispatchable by using techniques like energy storage and time shifting to add to firm generation capacity. With the possibility of up to 80% penetration, solar energy is now on par with thermal generators, giving the EU a real way to meet its long-term climate goals. Concerns about the environment are raised by the use of lead in perovskite solar cells. Lead is poisonous, and if it gets out of the cells, it can be bad for people's health. It can also pollute the environment because the lead can get into the plants nearby and could get into the water and soil. Engineers are looking to find other types of perovskites that can be used instead of lead, or they will need to find a way to stop any lead contaminants getting out. So, thank you very much for watching. What are your thoughts? Is the world ready for Solar 3.0? Let us know in the comment section below. And don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell to get more updates like this one. And as always, thank you very much for watching.